Okay. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Yeah,
Hooray! Close that.
leave that off. Okay. All right. Good to see you, Robert.
Yes.
We spend
It's
most
been
of
a
our
week.
lives talking audio, so it's always nice to see faces.
Definitely.
Uh, yeah, great. Right. So today we are celebrating the launch of Source Connect 4. It has been a long time coming. And yeah, we're just going to run through some of the features, mostly tech questions, because we've already done a lot of the overview sort of deep dives, which you can find in the other section of our videos, the live section. And yeah, I guess let's just jump in. Robert, your microphone's on the fabric.
I'm not on the mic I
Right?
want to be on.
Yeah, that's okay. Here we go.
All
For
right.
those of you who haven't yet seen anything of Source Connect, let's just assume that it's new to everybody because that's more fun. So it's quite a lot different looking here. And where do we start?
With cool video feedback. You're on my screen.
On your screen. Gosh, how'd that
Yeah,
happen?
I see that. Yeah. So, well, here's Source Connect 4. This is the studio version. Rebecca's running the talent version. So we'll kind of switch between the two screens to show what's going on. But there's a lot of similarities in general. Over here on the right side is the contacts list. Up here is the settings. The studio settings have a bit more going on in
Oh,
them, but for the most part,
that's
they're
still
similar.
took over here.
Um,
There we go.
is everything okay?
Everything's good.
Yep. And so you got your contacts list, you got your settings up there. Over here, you can log out and manage your profile. The way it's organized, you have your input and your output meters, what you're sending and what you're receiving. This is the total send and receive. It's now capable of conferencing. And then below that, you have your tabs, messaging, text messaging, notices where we put messages to you, connections, which you will see in a moment where the connections show up, logs for the geeks that want to see all the connection stuff and helps for troubleshooting, the restore replace panel, and the remote transport sync panel. So those are all the components of it. And then, of course, it folds down into a nice, tidy package so it gets out of your way when you don't need it to be a big thing. And you can also get down in the corner and make it dynamic and kind of size it how you need as well. So, Rebecca, do you kind of want to show the talent version,
Yeah,
I guess? Yep, go
exactly.
ahead.
Good idea. So here's the talent version. And just to make it clear, the talent version is exactly the same version of software as the studio version and the facility version. So you download one software and it all just depends on how you log in. So here, this user Noel that I'm using today is configured with the license for talent. So you can see here it's coming up talent license. If I were to log in with a different account, then I would come up with a studio. So that's really handy. Don't need to worry about, what version of software you're downloading, and makes it really just super easy for us to keep it updated as well for everybody, not needing to maintain all of these versions. So it means that we can make updates faster. And so the talent has all of the settings that you care about. You can set your microphone input, your channels, your quality, which now you can do best, which is 160 kilobits a second AAC. So certainly recommend doing that. And MIDI, we don't really talk about a lot, but maybe we could do that a bit later, Robert. And then your buffer. Wait, I just leave it auto. All of the testing we've done, auto is good. These things will come in handy later on with some other features. Here's an interesting one that we put in because we sometimes have connections with people who may just need how would you say, just a rerouting over the internet. And so if you're hearing from your engineer, like maybe you're hearing it yourself, the quality is not that great, try forcing source stream, and it'll just sort of reroute you a different way over the internet, and can often help, especially on long distances. Obviously, channels, if you're doing voice work, it's mono. And auto login. This is handy. So look at this. So if I just get auto login, now I'm going to log out. So you can have logged out. Now I'm just going to relaunch Source Connect here. I should go back on the right thing. Oh, this is too quick. Oh, there. Oh, anyway, it logged in by itself. So that's how quick it was. I really like that feature. And then everything else is similar to what Robert has. So I've got my logs as well that can tell me, a bit about my connection status. Really handy if you're having trouble. Talk to support, and we'll ask for this information. And then I also have my own restore and replace panel information. We'll go to that in a bit. Also, remote transport sync, which can be fun. And of course, we've got messaging, so I can always say hello. And then the contacts. So if I want to know somebody's phone number or email, I can just click here. If I need to do an echo test, I just click on echo. That'll get started. Once I'm on echo, I can't connect to anyone else. That's to stop you all the echoes being sort of connected to by one person, and then suddenly you don't have any access. But as soon as I click leave here, look, I can connect it again. And because I'm on the talent version, I can also only connect to one person at a time. So you can see now I can't collect Martin and Hayden like the studio version can. However, somebody connect to me multiple times. And so, Robert, maybe we can switch back and show you what those multiple connections look like.
Yeah, so I don't know that let's see if I do this. Who are these two? You're one of them. Who's the other? I don't know.
I'm Noelle.
Okay, you're Noelle. So who's Hayden right now?
Probably one of the test systems we have running right now.
Okay, so we'll see if they answer. I don't know if they're going to answer, but I can select more than one person, and I can request a connection to both. And and then we'll just wait for them to populate in the connections list here. We'll see what happens. There's you. And we'll see. It's still calling Hayden.
Yeah, I think Hayden's not
there we go.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, some random
who is that?
Hayden in our company. We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know who that
Ross?
is. I don't know. Talk to us, Hayden. There's no output from you. You're not talking to us. But, yep. Let's see,
I answered.
It's Ross. Sweet. Well, now you're in the webinar, so say hi to everyone. So actually, you're going through my speakers at this moment, so that brings up some other stuff. You can see here how I have a conference connected. Rebekah can now hear Hayden and myself, and so this could be used as a sort of an ensemble record, and I can send each connection out a different output here. So I wasn't going to show that immediately, but I can show that. So let's see here, I'll hide that little window.
I didn't intend to be a part of this stream, but I'm here.
You've been...
Just dragged you in.
Robert, your mic might be rustling.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, sorry. I will try to keep that away from my clothes. Sorry. So the way it works, the routing in Source Connect, for those engineers out there, pretty typical. You create an aux track. So I'm going to create a second aux track here, and I'm going to put the Source Connect link plugin on it, which is right here. And this one has, if you notice, it says link to, but I can also rename it. I can call it Ross. And now when I go over to Source Connect, Hayden Ross is on Hayden's connection, but if I go down to the bottom, I will now see that I have Ross as an output. So now I can send Ross out to Pro Tools here, and Ross is now showing up on my output of this plugin. There, I hear you. And actually, Ross, now if I record arm your track, Rebekah might hear you twice, but you're talking to everyone on the webinar now, because I can record you. And I could create a second track. I'm pretty sure I'm broadcasting. Let's see, monitor. Let me double check my monitor and monitor out. Yep. Yeah. let's see here. I can send my...
I've got Ross muted on my side, and I don't hear him through yours.
Ross, can you say something?
Hello, check 1 2.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Just
Yeah,
very
yeah.
low
So,
levels.
so you are there. And then I can bring, actually, what I would do is, we'll duplicate this record track. This is really jumping straight into it. We kind of were going to do a little bit more of an easy in, but we're going straight to multiple connections. So I'll just duplicate this track. And we will call this one Ross is on his Ross record, and this one will be Rebekah. And I will not send Rebekah, I will mute Rebekah. And here is the other Source Connect channel, which has just AAX. I can again rename that one to Rebekah. And then if I close that one and I go back over to Source Connect, I can take Rebekah's output, which was going there, and I can send it out to Rebekah. And so now Rebekah is being recorded. 1 second, let me get the output correct. So we will send this to a track called Rebekah. And there you are, Rebekah. So if Ross, you say hi. Oh, wait, you're going on both. 1 second. Ross is going to go on to the track called Ross. Where is it? Ross.
Those
There
of
we go.
you watching, this is what Robert does all day, every day. He's an
Yes,
expert
this is
at
what I
it.
do all day, every day.
Right.
Let me see here 1 second again. This is
Very lucky to have him.
Rebekah. Output to a track called Rebekah. Why?
Okay.
No, it's Pro Tools is being annoying. It keeps on going to record even though I told it to go to Rebekah. So I'm gonna tell Pro Tools what to do because it's not doing what I tell it to do immediately. 1 moment.
So
Great.
while Robert's doing that, one thing it's important to show here is how well we integrate with the existing engineering tools and Pro Tools, obviously all other DAW. So Robert can, get
Scenes. It's often the back of the scenes work that, of course, it's voice actors you don't have to worry about, thankfully.
All right, there we go. So, Ross, you should be on the record track, I believe, if I still have you there. Yep, there you are. And Rebekah, you're on the Rebekah track, which I have muted, but there you are.
Okay, hello.
And so I could record the two of you guys separately, like that. And
That's fantastic.
yep,
Okay.
there's Rebekah on that track.
Oh, maybe I
No.
introduced some bad internet there.
Oh, did you already? Yeah. Ross,
yeah.
I don't know if you want to say anything. I've seen you mumble. There you are.
Patch of pickled peppers.
And so essentially this could be a ensemble record. They have a script together, they're reading. I can hit stop. If there was any dropouts in the internet, we have Ross, Rebekah, and if I jump back over to Source Connect, we'll see how quickly this picks up. You notice I have this down arrow here in the corner, and each one has a blue circle around it, which means I'm receiving, restore, and replace from them. And so if I go over to here, I see Ross's records restored. So it already fixed something that dropped out, apparently, maybe. And then down here is, let's see, Nicole. And there's Rebekah's, and hers is, she introduced purposeful packet loss, actually. So now hers is fixed.
Too good.
Right. So maybe we can show an extreme example of that where we can visually show some of the dropouts. Rebekah, if I record you again.
Best if I do it so that Rebekah.
Okay.
Yeah, Ross, if you can crank up your mic, that'd be great. Yep, I'm already hearing the drops from Rebekah. So maybe if we zoom into Rebekah. Yep, okay, so you see here in
yeah,
Rebekah,
that's bad.
this was all dropouts right there. And if we go back over to Rebekah's connection here, and we should see that pop in here in a moment. There it is, and it's restoring those automatically. We'll let it
Click
finish
on
its
that.
little circle, and so now it
You
is,
can see the
yeah,
statuses.
we can see the status as well over there, but it says it's restored. So if we jump back to the waveform redrew. Ah, let's see if I zoom out.
Hey.
Oh, wait, no, it didn't. It was
Oh,
because I was
here you
zoomed
go.
in. No, it was because I zoomed in. So here, you can see those dropouts, and if I just kind of double click on this, and in Pro Tools, you can go over here and you can say recalculate waveform, and poof, all the dropouts are gone. And I can play that back. And there's absolutely no dropouts. And further, I can then say this was, say this was our edit, and we've done all this editing, and things are exactly the way I want. I have no idea what I'm editing, but just cutting stuff up for the sake of it. I can go back over here to each recording, and I can select replace. This is getting the uncompressed audio from each participant and conforming it to those edits. So downloading it and conforming to those edits. So all this audio will be uncompressed, lossless in the end, without having to ask someone to send me a backup file, and then I have to import it and ear match it to the edits I did in real time. This is really important when you're moving quickly through a session. So, here we just really quickly dived into a multi-record, actually, which probably a lot of people are just going to be doing single recordings with a single actor, but obviously Source Connect is able to do 2. And actually, what is it, 6? Is it you and 5 others, Rebekah? Is that the current limit?
Yep, 5 others.
Yep. So you and 5 others will increase that, but you can have 5 people in an ensemble. And the other nice thing is that I don't have to cross-patch all the actors for them to hear each other. That is done just by the nature of the connection. So it does it for you. Yet, I can still have separate outputs of each person. And the other nice thing is, if I ever return to the session, it's going to remember that my output for Hayden was Ross, as the named output.
Yes.
And my output for Nicole, Rebekah, was the Rebekah output. So anytime I connect to Rebekah or Hayden, it's going to look for these outputs or these plugins over here in the workstation. So you can name these and they are remembered. But if you don't want that to happen, you can easily go into each person and click here, and you can, if we're not connected, we could reset their connection so it goes back to the default settings. So this is an important distinction between the studio copy and the standard talent copy. The standard talent copy, these settings up here are the settings. It's very simple. It's just like any other application. Set your microphone, that's your microphone input. Set your headphones or your output, and that's your output. Whereas with the studio copy and the facility copy, these are the default settings where your connections start. And then for each connection, you have the individual settings here. So I can now click on Rebekah and set my specific settings for just Rebekah separately from what my settings are for Ross or Hayden. So, and also in here is where I can hang up on one person individually if I should choose. So wow, yeah,
Maybe
jumped
I
in there
should
quick.
compare that to the talent side. So we
Yeah,
can
if you want to kind of go show that, that'd be great. What it looks like in the
here,
connection.
I don't have the ability to set settings per connection. So for me, it's just global. This is so much easier because it's the talent. It means
You don't
I have
need
a
all
lot less
that.
to do.
Yeah.
But say I just want to I'm like, oh, I'm not using my right microphone, so I'm just gonna choose another one here. Use this one.
The laptop maybe or something.
Right.
Don't do Bluetooth.
I turned on my Bluetooth.
Yep. And as quick as that, now I hear you from 3 feet away or whatever it is.
And then also so does Ross or Hayden. So
Correct.
everyone that I'm connected to will immediately get these change settings. And this should just feel very familiar to any other application, which is also something that we wanted to make sure. I could change the stereo.
I want to make sure that I'm not double routing everyone. Rebekah, are you muted on the stream? I want to make sure, because you're going, you are, okay, good, because you're going through. Okay, good.
So yeah, and then also we can see here when Robert was recording me, I've got a backup of a display of what's been happening, which is really helpful, just so I can check in on the status. And one of my favorite features here is that this is something that we did earlier. You can see from yesterday from a test. If Martin calls me and says, you know what, I messed up. I know I'm perfect, but sometimes I mess up and I didn't record what I wanted. Can you send me your audio? And I'm like, well, I wasn't recording. It's like, oh no, don't worry. Source Connect was. Here we have this whole file, so we can actually download. Now I have a WAV file on my computer that I can send to Martin.
Of the entire connection.
Of the entire connection, yeah.
Yep.
So it's, I guess we were connected for like an hour because it's still saving. Yeah, so
I think we were testing for a while.
Sounds like the stream might be getting different audio sources from Rebecca.
Yeah, she switched over to her other mic when she Rebecca, switch back because you're going through me and you switched to your laptop. So switch your mic back to the good mic. Yep. Ross, can you crank up your mic?
I'll crank mine up. I'll give you all my room tone. You can hear my laundry machine.
Sweet.
Right. Let's go back to Roberts. Here we go.
Okay.
For everyone on the chat, I can see them talking about not being able to hear us well. So
There you go.
There we go.
I can also try to let me try to just boost up the overall output. I'm broadcasting through the Nexus plugin, and I guess I'll just do this. Right. Yeah, that should increase everybody to the broadcast. Hopefully we don't crunch it. So if we crunch it, let me know if it's distorted. Hopefully not. Maybe I'll lower my talkback. So, gosh, what next? There's so many things. I don't want to overwhelm people. I imagine we have a lot of voice talent on here, and I know that usually when we do these things, the voice talent, they're like, what are you telling us all this stuff for? We just want to
they're
be
giving
recorded.
us great tips on how to speak better into mics, though.
Oh, are they?
Oh,
Yeah.
I need that.
This is a very professional mic I have here. I forgot my interface, so I can't use this one. I'm using this one instead. Hooray! Yeah, it helps if you remember your equipment and you don't have to use, like, what is this? Samsung cell phone.
Also, now
Sorry.
that my file has finished exporting, you can see here that I have this file, Martin Linus. It's 300 meg. So I guess how long was that file?
That's a
1
while.
hour.
7 megs a minute, I think. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's uncompressed file, of course. So it's
yeah,
really,
exactly. So
So that is restore replace, which is a very important feature. Very easy to set up now, and one of the most important things about it is that it's not the case here, but the talent can be at a different sample rate than the engineer, and it doesn't matter. The only thing that does matter is that the talent is sending, say, mono, and the engineer is recording mono. If you have a channel mismatch, you can't really restore and replace through a channel mismatch. But we can now deal with sample rate mismatches without an issue. And that makes it a lot easier to set up for the, or just fewer places to have something not work as far as the talent. Because often, for example, talent would be at 44.1 and not realizing it because maybe they had an application like GarageBand launched, which just forces every piece of hardware to go to 44.1. GarageBand can only do 44.1. Maybe there's other reasons why the talent was at a slightly not correct sample rate. Usually things are done at 48. Some industries, I think audiobooks does 44.1, for example. So what else is in here? One other thing to just for the engineers to note, when you're routing, you notice I'm going out a mono bus, and I have no pan option here, and I'm recording to a mono track, and my fader's at 0. It's important that you record exactly what comes out of Source Connect, so that when we restore or replace it, there's not a gain change, which would cause a click, and it just basically wouldn't work. So as long as you record exactly what comes out of Source Connect, we can track it the way we track it, so that you can, have your files restored and replaced. Is over here in the settings panel, you just need to show it your folder where you're recording audio to from your DAW.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
And again, on the talent side, don't have to do any of that. We really set it up super, super easy
Yep.
for you
Talent
guys.
doesn't need to do anything. The
Just
talent,
launch
if
it.
they want,
Bring your
once
voice.
the sessions are done, and you know that the other side has everything they want, the talent can go into the settings here, and they can choose to clear their cache out at some point, because it does save it to your hard drive, and at some point you might not want your hard drive being completely filled, and that's where you would manage that, is just in this settings.
And we're going to work on some help as well,
Yeah,
so
if I
to
may
tell
be
you
a
more.
voice from within the abyss off screen here.
I could put some reverb on your voice, and you can literally come from the abyss. Should I do that?
Yeah. Well,
There you go.
often we do these webinars and we get a lot of feedback from talent saying that they're feeling overwhelmed and what is it that they need to do. And the reality is Source Connect 4 has cleared the road so much that you likely just need to launch the app, assign your mic, wait for the studio to call you, and when they say go, you go. And when you're done, press leave. It's pretty straightforward. There are other things going on under the hood that are really powerful, but it's largely seamless and mostly an automatic experience from the performer side of it. So it's really quite simple.
Okay, Ross, I have to do it. Here you go. Ready?
Yeah.
Hold on. Okay, Ross from the abyss, say hi.
Hi. Hello.
Okay, enough. Anyways, and okay, yeah, exactly. The idea is that it's really easy for the talent, and the engineer has the tools they need, but we're also making it easier for the engineer by having fewer pitfalls, like sample rate conversion, less things they have to tell the talent to do in their settings, and also I think other small things. The restore replaces happen quicker. This version just seems faster at analyzing those files and getting in there and exchanging the data and getting the files updated. And a really big thing is that now we're able to notify at least Pro Tools and all the other DAWs. They are notified by nature of the file, but Pro Tools had a unique way of handling its disk access. So we worked with Avid and some of their new features within. What is it? What version of Pro Tools is it, Rebekah, that will now automatically update the disk cache for the
Late
restores?
2022, September 2022.
Okay, so those versions of Pro Tools. If not, those running older versions of Pro Tools, if there's a restore replace, you won't hear it until you go into your playback engine and just kick this buffer down here, up or down. And basically what it does is it just, if you didn't hear me when I was in that window, by the way, basically what kicking that buffer up and down does for older versions of Pro Tools is it forces it to look at the file again where we've fixed it, and therefore it loads it back into your session properly. But the later versions of Pro Tools, like Rebekah said, 2022, late 2022 and above, we are now able to exchange that data with Avid and Pro Tools on the fly. And we're working on even having the waveform update work on the fly. That's needing some tweaking. We've seen some early versions working, and then it stopped working. I forget why, but we're working on getting that back. So some other things. Yeah, go ahead, Rebekah.
Even just like important to just sort of review the basics again. I'm seeing a lot of here questions about contacts. So if we look here, I've got the dashboard open. This is where all your contacts and roster management happens at the moment. So I'm just going to log in, and we'll see here my contacts. Maybe I don't want Robert on my list anymore, so I'm going to remove him. Then I change my mind. I'm like, oh no. So I'm going to search again on this lovely thing called Find a Source. So I know Robert lives in the United States, so I'm going to do that. And he's in Illinois. And then I should be able to filter that search a bit more. Let's see. Robert Marshall. There we go. Always got a few of them. That's you.
A couple of accounts.
Anyway, we'll
testing
get that
and
one.
stuff, yeah.
And then add. And then when Robert logs in to Source Connect, I can go to my contacts and I'll see that I have Robert here. Easy. And so actually then I should be able to see him. He's not logged in right now, but that should be
Right.
on my. Oh, I'm not logged in as Rebekah. But if
I'm
I
in
was
my
logged
alter
in, I
ego,
would
Martin. Yeah.
see. Same thing. So yeah, super easy. One of the other great things about Find a Source is that you can also find somebody by role. So we're just starting to sort of work on this. But if you tag yourself as a voice performer, you can see here, everyone around the world who's a voice performer, big long list that goes on forever. So maybe I want somebody in. Do we have anyone in Kazakhstan?
Oh, Argentina, or I don't know.
We do. We have
Wow.
Nitrine in Kazakhstan. So if I want to get some sweet Kazakhstani accents on my next, film, I know who to call. So that's really handy. So yeah, I really like this a lot. And then I can also see this map takes a while to load. We're just
Yeah.
working on some improvements, but it's worth it once it
I
comes
love
up.
seeing the world map.
Yeah, it's pretty special. It's grown over the years, so we haven't given it much attention. Maybe it's too many to load. Oh, there we
There
go.
it goes.
All right, so I'm going to zoom in because I'm from New Zealand, and we're going to see who's from my hometown. Yep, we can see the people living there from where I grew up. Oh, that little. I've lived in lots of places too, but yes, one of the nice things about this job, I've been everywhere and met many of you. Many of you who are on this chat I've met in person, and if I haven't met you yet, I probably still will at some of the events coming up. We will be in Las Vegas in a couple of weeks with Robert, actually, for NAV.
Oh, I thought we were going to gamble.
Oh, shh.
We're gonna, yeah.
Yeah, so the map is awesome. And then if you want to get Source Connect, you just go to Products and Downloads here and download the talent. This is the download button. Some of you have been confused about
Rebecca,
this
can you
download
not
button.
mute yourself to Ross so that he can still hear you?
I'm in the dark, watching
Yeah.
a stream that's
There we go.
30 seconds behind.
And so here's the download buttons. You can say for Mac, this is for Windows. We're going to make some improvements on this because you've been giving us your feedback. But suffice to say, you just need to download it. And we also give you
Right,
some very
It
useful
lists
message.
it as different versions, but really you can download any of them. Is that
I
correct?
know. It's just because of the trials. We have to we have to reject some of
Ah.
how this works now, since
I
it's all
see.
the same app. Yeah, we'll figure it out. But yeah, so this is really helpful. We haven't talked about this. Source Connect 3
Oh, yes.
does not talk to Source Connect 4. And I'm just going to say
Very
okay.
important.
We like to
Yeah,
remind you about that.
I can explain why to everybody too. I like the car metaphor. So, Source Connect 3, we built the foundation of that in 4 actually. We hand built a whole bunch of stuff that has become standard in the computer industry. So 2004 is the same year that Skype comes out. We come out, we hand build a bunch of stuff. And throughout the years, every time we had to modify or change Source Connect, we had to do all of that work by hand again, both on Mac and Windows. We admittedly ended up in a situation where Windows was a sort of a whole version behind. And you can imagine it'd be like owning a car, and then you want to go change your tire, but you can't go buy a tire or a rim at the store because the bolt pattern for the bolts don't match. So you have to go make your own tire every time. So now we have re-engineered Source Connect 4 from the ground up, using all these wonderful, much more modern and available standards in the computing industry. And so, for example, we will never be in a situation again where Source Connect for Windows ends up behind Source Connect for Mac, because we have a unified build system that lets us move all this in parallel, and therefore we're able to iterate features so much faster for everybody.
Oh, yeah.
And
You guys
this is
just
a really
wait.
important aspect. Yep.
Really excited. There's some things that are
But-
coming.
But because of that, the tires from Source Connect 3 don't fit on the tires for Source Connect 4. They cannot connect to each other. And it's important to understand that everybody who has a Source Connect 4 license also has a Source Connect 3 license. If you're a talent in particular, especially if you're on a Mac, this is an easy solve. When you have a session, just launch both Source Connect 4 and Source Connect 3 and just see where your clients log in and connect to you on. And over time, you'll find that more and more 3 goes away, and people are connecting to you on 4. And at some point, there won't be a point in launching 3 anymore. The first days here, obviously, most sessions will still be happening on 3 as the network is just beginning to transition over to full use of 4. But it's really important to note that they don't connect with each other. So however it goes, either by launching both as a talent and being available at that moment on both, or maybe just calling ahead or coordinating ahead and saying, hey, I have a session. Are we using Source Connect 3 or Source Connect 4 for this session? You want to do that.
Yeah,
We do
call ahead.
have some bridges available. And if you need to basically stay on 4 while your clients are still on 3, and you can't switch to 3 for whatever reason, you can quickly show up and basically fire up a bridge and connect basically through a bridge translation. It's not as ideal as basically both sides running the same version of Source Connect. So those bridges are really intended for last minute, oh my gosh, I need to connect and I'm not on the same version as somebody. Rebekah, I don't know if you want to kind of show the bridge in action or show how to kind of run it.
Let's
Might
do
be
it.
useful, yeah.
What do I put in my... Oh, it's pretty interesting. All right, so...
So on your
Well,
dashboard, you
this
have
is
the bridge
useful.
option. And right now, Rebekah, is this available to everybody or just for users?
Yeah.
How's
Everyone.
everyone? Okay.
So, let me see. Actually, I just put Robert on here before, so... Hang on. let me go.
So she's picking the contact who she needs to bridge with, correct?
Yeah, just typing in here. And once I click Start New Bridge, and a bridge is going to launch, and I get a timer. So I have 30 minutes to do the bridge. However, if I get 50 minutes or 5 minutes in left of the bridge, I'm like, oh, I need to keep going. You can click add another 15 minutes, and you can do that up to 90 minutes. So just keep this somewhere that you can see it and watch the timer. Now, so basically, I have this user bridge 4. So I'm going to log in here. Let's see, this is Rebekah.
So basically, when you assign the bridge, it creates a new user and tells you to connect
Yep.
to that bridge user.
Exactly. And I'm the only one who connect to that. Me and Robert Marshall, who I added. You can see here I added Robert Marshall.
So if I was to
Source
I
Connect.
can't do it now, but if I was to launch and log into Source Connect 4, I would see that same bridge user.
Exactly.
And I could connect to that bridge user,
we
and
would
therefore
connect.
we will be bridged.
Yeah. So, for example, instead of me being on Source Connect 3, I could also log into Source Connect 4. Oh, my ports are busy. But yeah, so that's bridge is really easy. Really easy. I need to set up my ports, so excuse that. You'd think I
So,
would
which
have
brings
those.
up another thing. No more port forwarding for Source Connect 4.
Oh yeah, it's actually really great. You can see I'm not getting a connection here because my ports aren't configured on this network. The reason is I switched my Ethernet to Wi-Fi and my ports are on my
So
Wi-Fi.
it's forwarding over to
Anyway,
a
but here-
connection that's not existent, right?
No port forwarding. It's not needed. It just works. It's
The
amazing.
the
Amazing,
studio and facility users can choose to set up port forwarding.
Yes. Yep.
so
So,
'cause-
let's go and show
yeah.
that on your side, Robert.
Because to some degree, port forwarding is still the best way
It's
to
very
kind of,
useful.
yeah, it's the best way to
Yeah.
map through the connection. But I'll go ahead and zoom in here so you can see it. I can, actually, sorry, that's a global setting, isn't it? Yeah, so over here, my network tab, and right now I'm not using anything fancy, but I can flip the fancy button on, custom network settings, and a couple things that are available to studio users. First of all, if I have more than one internet connection to my computer, so some studios, for example, have a client connection, they have a general LAN that's used for general internet, and then they might have a special internet connection for their real-time connections. You can tell Source Connect which internet connection to use. Right now I just have one on this computer, but it would show them by IP address. So you can direct
Really
it to a
handy.
special network. I can also assign the ports. This looks very much like the old Source Connect. You can, but you can assign a specific
There's
range.
more of them.
Right, you need a range of them because if you remember with Source Connect 3, if you were running multi-connect, you'd run multiple copies of Source Connect and you'd assign each copy of Source Connect a different port. Well, now that's all built into Source Connect 4, so it needs to have the range to itself. So here, a range of 10 ports, 0 to 9. And then finally, very
And you can't do
important,
the test right now because you're connected.
because I'm connected, right. If not, this test would
Just
be
a-
available to me.
Voice from the abyss here again.
Yep.
The bridge. Just I see a couple questions sprouting up about the bridge, and I just want to clarify a couple things. The bridge, you don't need to create a new name for your bridge, or it's basically like a temporary contact that's going to appear in your list, and you're going to connect to that contact, that bridge ID, if you will, and then your other connection will connect to that same bridge, and then you'll be bridged together. So no need, Kristen, to create a new username or anything like that. Yeah.
Yep.
And Venus is saying, if you're on the Source Connect 4, you can always connect to a client who isn't on Source Connect 4 via the bridge function. That's correct.
Correct.
Exactly.
But like I said, better both use the same version and avoid the bridge. The bridge is it's two connections in one. It's better to connect directly if at all possible. So that's why we do provide everybody with the 3 license, so the transition can be, smooth and people can transition and use the version that they need, and not have to have a shock like, oh, we're all on 4 all of a sudden. You're on both.
The more ideal pairing is obviously Source Connect 4 to Source Connect 4. Less wiring, like virtual wiring, if you imagine that. Like I imagine there's less latency. It's just a better feature parity between the two.
Sure.
So the bridge is kind of like
queue
a
system,
stopgap.
the auto restore system cannot work over the bridge. Is another
No,
important
that's one
note.
thing.
Yep.
Yeah. We've got some questions that came in
Yeah.
a while ago. We could just sort of go
Sure.
through here. So
Here,
Elizabeth,
can I finish one
you
thought
asked a
really
while
quick?
ago.
Just
Oh,
for the
yeah.
corporate users.
Port forwarding.
Well, port forwarding, but also
yeah.
now you can run through a proxy server if you are behind Fort Knox or whatever,
yeah.
really heavy duty network. Your broadcast facilities, NBC, CBS, Disney, those types of users might run into needing to set a proxy up if they're behind a really heavy duty network. So it's designed to work in the simple situation, but also in the very complex situation as well. So that's all I wanted to show. And yep.
All right. Let's get through some of these questions. So Elizabeth, maybe you sorted it out in the last half hour, and I see some other comments from you. But you said that you'd logged into Source Connect, and it's still showing the 3.8 version, not 4.0. That would be because you need to download the new 4.0 version from the dashboard.
Yep. Or is she talking
Or
about
auto
iLock?
update.
Yeah, she's
think
not
it's
talking
talking
about the
about
iLock
software.
license, maybe.
Yeah.
Hopefully not.
Here's another question. Shane, I think maybe we also went through enough of these questions sort of as we went, but you had asked if Source Connect is creating the buses and Pro Tools. You will need to make your own templates.
Yep. So the bus from the aux track to the record track, you can do it in Pro Tools. The reason why I had to go into the Pro Tools menu there is because I was telling Pro Tools to go straight to a track, and it wasn't doing it. So I just made a bus and explicitly told it what bus I wanted to use. But they do have a new feature in Pro Tools, actually not that new, where you can, when you're assigning an output, you should be able to go down here to the track menu and just pick a track without having to jump through this bus window here. But it didn't work, and that's why you saw me create that bus, little on the fly.
Shane has another great question. Are both talent getting cross comms from the plugin?
The talent are hearing each other directly from each other, so they are hearing each other in the lowest
go back to
possible
that.
latency. Right here, I do not have the talent cross-patched. They are naturally cross-patched through Source Connect. And if I wanted to, I could switch my input. Right now I'm just feeding them directly from my microphone, but I could switch them to an input that is basically derived from playback on Pro Tools, and then they could hear playback. So I could do that. Quick way to do it. Let me see here. I could basically take my playback track and assign. Do I want to do it that way? here. We will. I don't know if everybody wants to see this. I was trying to keep the Pro Tools session simple, but aux. We'll create a talkback to
As well as
Source Connect.
doing that, just run through another question about
Yep.
Adobe Audition. You can't use Adobe Audition in the way that Robert is using it here to record talent, but you can run it on your own as to record your own backup while you're using Source Connect. But they would run completely separately from each other. Actually, that's one of the nice things about Source Connect 4. It will share audio, so it won't block and stop you from using your audio in two applications. It's a nice update.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And,
maybe just to expand
a
on that
question
slightly.
here from. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Well, I was just gonna say, like, it's pretty much, I think, only like Audition and GarageBand that function like this, where they just don't have the ability to bus an output into an input of a track. So,
Right.
if you are looking for like an affordable solution to try and do some of the advanced stuff that Robert's talking about, we'd recommend like Reaper or even the Pro Tools Free.
Studio
doesn't
One.
have that. Yeah, there's plenty of options out there for.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and you
just
can-
Audition's really kind of dug its heels in.
It's true. We actually, it's got its own sort of design things, and it is what it is. And GarageBand obviously is doing that because they're trying to keep it super simple. But there's ways around it with Nexus and Nexus Router. You can basically force feed it through what it thinks is hardware. The basic issue is that Audition can only record what it considers coming from hardware. It cannot record something. You can, and so what you have to do is you have to set it up as a virtual input, and that's something that Nexus can do. So you're not completely, but Audition certainly doesn't make it as easy as we would like to do.
Yeah. Just see
So
another
if I do that, there's my
question.
talkback. And sorry, I'm gonna.
We got you
Okay,
twice
go
right
ahead.
now, Robert. Just a question if we would be going through the workflow of voice actors from launch to connect to end. Actually, we have exactly that on our YouTube live channel. If you go back to YouTube after this, you'll see there's a whole webinar just for voice actors called Introducing Source Connect for Talent.
So there's my talkback. And so basically I have, did I do it? To Source Connect. Track to Source Connect. Ha ha ha. Why isn't it busing to these? It's so annoying.
While you're looking
Sorry.
through there, I'm just going to
Yep.
see, there's a couple other questions I can just answer really quickly here. Is there a process for moving off iLocks? No. It's the new Source Connect is authenticated through the server and through the login process, so you don't really need to do anything there. And where's the other one? I saw something about iLock. The bridge, yeah, the bridge won't matter. If you're on Source Connect 4 and you're connecting to someone through the bridge, the iLock is not at play there. You don't need to worry about that.
Yeah. Good. Let me just go through some other things here.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Oh yeah, here's a good one from Jerry. Hi Jerry. Is there a contact setting for Source Connect for Talent where you would only see Source Connects that have Source Connect 4? That's something that we want to get onto our dashboard, onto the my contact setting. I think that would be really helpful to see who's already upgraded or not. That should be opt-in. We also are very privacy conscious and don't think that we should be sharing information about each other unless that's something that we choose to do. But it is absolutely, we're looking at improving that. The other way to find out who's got Source Connect 4 is to log into Source Connect 4, because you can log into Source Connect 4 and Source Connect 3 at the same time, which you saw me do before. It's no problem to do that.
And so now I can go down here. We'll see if I got this right here. Check. There we go. So Ross, or that's one, and then here's the other one. Okay, so now I have my Pro Tools set up so that I can feed both playback and my talkback through to Source Connect. Very simple. And in fact, now basically what we have here for anybody who's really interested in is The webinar is kind of like a client review that's happening here through Nexus Review. Those would be clients. All of you in the world are clients. And then we have 2 talent connected here as talent, and I can record them and you can all hear them, and then I can play stuff back to them and you at the same time, and I'm talking to both of you at the same time, but the talent are completely isolated from the general meeting room where the clients are. So if anybody's interested, the way I did that is I picked up here with using a Nexus IO plugin. I picked up my talkback and then I sent it to an aux track that I called to Source Connect, and I have that. There's my talkback going there, and I also have my playback track going over to the output, which is off to Source Connect down there, and also over to my monitors, which also goes to the clients. And therefore in Source Connect I just switched my input from my microphone directly. Oops, I didn't do this one, but I can switch my input to be, now both my inputs to Rebekah and Ross are coming through Pro Tools, and therefore also my playback. For example, if I play this back,
Peter
goes,
Piper picked a patch of pickled peppers.
goes to them as well.
Butchered that.
Yeah, Peter Piper
I'm
picked
just getting. I see a question from Venus that I want to answer there quickly. It says, I use Audition and clients sometimes ask for a backup recording. Will I be able to do that on Source Connect 4? I had problems on 3.
Yeah, so this is a
I
classic
think we
issue
probably covered this.
with Windows. So Windows can sometimes be very finicky about sharing audio devices with 2 applications at the same time. And you can get Windows to do it. It often takes a lot of grit and rebooting and setting this window and setting that window. It has to do with the exclusive properties of the sound card. But suffice to say, with Source Connect 4 at least now,
4.
when you connect, and if the other side, the studio side, is using Restore or Replace, then you don't need to record yourself in Audition, because as Rebekah showed you, the whole connection is being cached, and you can just download a file of it when you're done if they ask for it. So hopefully that answers that question.
Yeah, that's really key. Like, it's all, everything's there, and there's even more advantages than maybe are obvious there. Like if the engineer forgot to hit record and you were in the middle of a take, and then they're like, but that's still there. That performance is still there, and it can still be provided. So it's quite reliable and
If
amazing.
you told them
Can
the
you share
best
Source
joke
Connect
during
again?
session and they didn't record it, you can download the file and give it to them, and they'll have a recording of that joke.
Yeah. Just another question here, also, if you can show Source Connect, Robert. The question was, will I still need to be hardwired into Ethernet and have Wi-Fi off?
We prefer
so-
Ethernet. It's always
Yeah.
a better connection. I mean, unless you're some of these, like Ethernet through the power system of the house, some of those things can be a little bit weird. If you're using Wi-Fi, you got to make sure it's really strong Wi-Fi and that you have no issues. But in general, an Ethernet connection 9 times out of 10 is a better connection than Wi-Fi, and you just don't want to give any ways that, like whatever, some cop drives down the street right at the same time with their super high-powered radio, and it gets into your Wi-Fi for a moment, and next thing you know, there's dropouts or things like that. So a wired connection is always preferred if possible. We understand it's not always possible, especially when you're traveling, and that's why Restore Replace exists, because across all those problematic networks, it's going to fix it. But ideally, you're not listening to dropouts. It's like that's a fix for a problem that in ideal situations isn't occurring. And the best way to avoid that is to try to give your computer the best network you can give it, which is usually Ethernet.
Yeah,
Speaking about traveling, go ahead, Ross.
I was just gonna say, even ping, right? Like there's a lot of factors that, like Wi-Fi, even in a really, you're like, okay, I've got an amazing plan with my provider and I'm close to it. All the radio signals that are flying around you from your cell phones to any smart devices are gonna chop you up. And also possibly it's a longer route than may need to exist from you to your modem. So if you want to have this dialogue with somebody else over the internet, you want to have the least amount of ping between each other as possible. So yeah,
When he
get
says
the
ping,
Ethernet
he means
cable
latency.
connected if you can.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
referring to latency
exactly.
there when he
Like-
is saying ping.
And stability. Yeah.
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 So,
So John asks about travel. So
Mhm.
using different studios, can I sign into and use my account on someone else's computer?
You have
Will
two
that
locations.
computer require its
Yeah.
own license?
Yeah, you have two each copy will be assigned or can be assigned to two computers, and you'll have the ability to move between computers, but the number of moves are somewhat limited. A lot of this is being defined, but the intention is that there's two computers per account or per user, typically a home studio computer and a travel computer. And if you need to reassign it, and there's something that is not allowing it to be reassigned, you can always contact support and we'll help you out.
Yeah, there'll be a dashboard setting for that. It's
Right.
in development.
Some of these things are in progress. Yep.
Yeah, also. Does the Source Connect 4 have the source stream option? And
It does. It's Mac and Windows, and you usually, as with Source Connect 3, you usually don't have to check the source stream option. It will use source stream if needed, but there is in
Look
the
at your
settings
logs.
panel here the option to force it to be used, which Rebekah was referring to earlier. Maybe you have a connection. The internet works in what's called peering, meaning imagine you have a connection, an internet connection from Xfinity, and you're connecting to another studio that's using AT&T. Well, your connection might go from Xfinity to Sprint to Level 3 to Spectrum to Xfinity. And all those different hops from one carrier to the other is called a peer. And this kind of gets to what's called net neutrality. All those different providers are supposed to provide each other best effort on the external traffic from other carriers. There's a lot of politics in that. In general, the internet works extremely well, and this best effort kind of scenario works great. But if for some reason one of those carriers is really congested, you might want to try to find a new way through the internet. And the internet is self-determining how it routes. So, but one way to try to get it to reroute is to use source stream, because then what's going to happen is it's going to go through our server, and that's by definition going to change at least some of that peering between you and the other party, and you might find a smoother path through if necessary. But again, in general, you want to leave it off and let it find its own route through, because it's designed to find the best route. It usually is going to try to create what's called a peer-to-peer route. But if it can't, that's when
let's
it will.
move on. I think that's
Whoa,
we can
sorry.
speak
I'm a
for about
geek.
2 hours on this topic. But there's another question about if you still need your iLock to launch Source Connect 3, where Source Connect 4 does not need it. Source Connect 3 does not need a physical iLock, but you can put your license on your iLock if you like. But no, 4 does not use an iLock at this time, although for studio and facility versions, we are going to add that option back, because we know that that's really convenient to many of you. Here's a nice question that I wasn't expecting. Can I run Source Connect 4 under Linux?
Not yet, right? Yet?
I love that question.
Is,
I love
Not
it.
yet,
is the
but
answer not yet, or yeah?
Certainly,
Yeah.
it's definitely not yet, but it's not no. So great question. I love
We'll
that.
we'll be doing
I'm a
iOS before
user.
Linux, to be honest. So
Yeah,
It might
iOS
be-
is the next thing. We're just announcing that then, I guess. So probably the next webinar is going to be
Did I say
iOS,
that?
hopefully.
Did I say that out loud?
Did you say that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Committed now.
Yeah. Ross,
I
you
only
see
said we're
any
doing
other
it before
questions here
Linux. I
that,
didn't say
Yeah, voice from the abyss here again. There is a dongle that you can connect to your MacBook that will provide you an Ethernet input. I'm looking at
Yes.
one on my desk right now. It's more important than ever with all these new machines foregoing the inclusion of an Ethernet jack. So yeah, they're readily available. Staples, Amazon, etc. They're pretty cheap too. So yeah, definitely grab one of those if you can. That's to answer
It's-
Kristen's. And then
It's
there's
almost
a-
required when you buy a new laptop these days. You just have to buy the dongle to get all the ports that you used to get in the 2010s.
Yeah.
that you don't get anymore.
And this is somewhat of a high-level question, but I think it's a good one. The Andrew Feliciano, hopefully I'm saying that right. How many licenses can be in one account? He's I assume he's interested in the
So he's talking about
sub-account
sub
limit.
accounts. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a limit, right, Rebecca?
There's no limit. I have not yet found that limit. It's
Push us
probably
to
a
that
really
limit.
big
Andrew,
number,
we'd like you to find the limit.
78 million. Yes, buy 78 million licenses from us. We'll let you know when it breaks.
And there's
Yeah.
and right now we don't know of any limits on the number of sub accounts either. That was a question that came up in support a couple days ago, and you should be able to have as many sub accounts
This
as you
is-
want, as long as you have licenses for each sub account.
Les Wooten asks,
Who is also-
I may have missed it,
Yeah.
but does Source Stream option, sorry to cut you off there, Rebecca, on Source Connect 4 compare to it does on 3.9? And I think the answer there is it does more. It's even
it's better.
It has more compatible environments, and it's probably more efficient. So
It's-
Robert, can you click on the logs, please?
Yes. I think
So
Source
you can
Stream
see
is
there,
now
I'm actually
improved.
connected to Ross on SourceStream.
Oh yeah.
Look at you are too.
So we're going through Source Stream,
Just for Ross, but not for me.
right? And where, just so I can
Canada.
highlight, can I highlight in here?
The
I
Great
can't
Firewall
highlight.
of Canada.
Yeah. But
Yeah, sorry. But no, Ross, I'm getting you on SourceStream also. So maybe you've got multiple routers, or I don't know. Well, let's do a support call and we can figure it out.
look at this one in the
Thanks.
logs. I didn't even know about
Yeah.
this. Your connection changed to Ethernet when I got hooked
Oh,
up with
yeah.
you early and I switched off Wi-Fi. It's like pretty cool.
Super useful
didn't
info
even know
here.
that,
And
yeah.
it'll be getting more useful as well. It actually saves up only 1,000 lines. So if you do have an error and you want to tell support, make sure you take a screenshot before.
Are we going to be
It
introducing a
disappears,
little
like,
like
if you've
save
got
a
more
text
sessions.
file kind of thing?
Yeah, of course.
Yep.
Yeah. Speaking of introducing things, we haven't looked at remote transport sync yet.
All right, let's do that. So remote transport sync no longer uses Rewire because Rewire is no longer in the industry. It died, and I'm very sad. And we should have a moment of silence for Rewire because it was really cool.
I'm not a fan, so I'll leave
Oh,
it to you.
really?
R.I.P.
Glad it's gone.
So-
had some interesting things going on, but
I liked it. Anyways,
The-
it now uses currently MTC or LTC, but the two sides of the connection do not need to agree on what type of timecode they are using. So over here, as the studio user, I can send and receive timecode. The talent can only receive timecode. Here, I
MTC.
have my options for MTC and LTC. I think I'll show LTC first. And what device will I use? Let's see here. I'm just going to use some empty device. Oh wait, here, timecode in. I already made a device. So this is an audio device, timecode in. And if I jump over here to Pro Tools, I hope I have that license on me. Actually, that's a good question. I don't. We'll
while
see
you're
in a
looking at it,
second if I
maybe
have
just
the Dolby plugin to
I'm just going to
generate
give a
timecode.
bit of preamble to when this workflow might actually come up for voice. For anyone who's a voice performer in here who's like, what are we talking about right now? MTC, LTC. Occasionally you might be, often you see this more in a studio to studio workflow where talent is just asked to arrive at a studio and they're going to do this. And it's basically, if you had pictures that you're performing to, you would have it, someone like the remote party would send it over to you so that you have something that you can look at and perform to. And now you can have your software, your audio software, chase their timeline. And now you're looking at it without having to deal with all the latency of the internet streaming the picture over. So it's sort of like sometimes what's called in the industry like a distributed media workflow where the same video exists on both. And now you're performing in sync to that thing. And Robert would be able to chase, more or less trigger you to go into record, and then you'd be watching the video as it moves and then perform along. And now he knows exactly where it belongs in his timeline as well. So,
Correct.
sorry, go ahead. But
Yeah, sorry about that. When I hit play, everybody, I went into auto input, and you might have heard a slight not hearing of Ross for a moment. Sorry about that.
Oh.
That's what that was about. But it wasn't that long. It was like a brief second. It was like maybe half a word.
That's I hardly heard it. Anyway, so yeah, then I will click.
So now that, if I do this, if I look here, I've now basically selected my timecode out input, or my input is timecode out because it's coming from Pro Tools over here. I have my Dolby LTC generator. Maybe you have hardware that's generating LTC. Maybe you have a LTC file, and so it's generating LTC. I have used a Nexus plugin to send it to the timecode out. And over here in Source Connect, I've selected LTC as my input and timecode out is my device. And therefore, it's now sending timecode to Rebekah and Ross from my Pro Tools
Can you hear?
system.
Now I want to use MTC.
And for
getting
anyone
into
who's
Pro Tools.
the MTC, there's some real magic that's going on behind here. So the fact that Robert's sending out LTC does not mean I need to handle MTC or LTC on my side, which is more common if you think about like people that are in a laptop environment where they're largely just using software. They're likely going to need to convert LTC to MTC because that's often what software wants to see. So the fact is we've kind of got this like adapter inside of Source Connect that's translating this and doing it accurately. So it's pretty special. I hope to see more people using this workflow in the future.
And so Rebekah can receive that out an MTC port, and she can send that over MTC to her workstation if she would like.
Mm-hmm.
Can I safely go there and look? I
Yeah.
can. Create video feedback.
So I think I haven't done this a lot.
You have to put it online. Yep, you have to do that, and then
And
there you go.
Easy. Oh my God, that's all I had to do. Yeah.
Yep.
So I had to set up. Hang on.
Here, you can just take it offline to stop if you want, or I can stop,
Okay.
whichever.
Yeah.
Yep,
So
there you
I
go.
just had to set up my peripherals here. Reader port, and it's Source Connect out. And then here I'm sending out
Just
Source
look through
Connect
some
out. Super
questions
easy.
here.
And then I just went online. I mean, come on, you can have
Yep.
yeah, crazy.
And so now Rebekah's tracing my timecode.
I love how easy that is. I like this so much better than Rewire. I'm sorry, because we don't have any of the weird timing issues. I'm not going to be like an hour
Yeah,
out.
just
It's no
reiterating
session
the
song
start.
Yeah,
start.
Rewire was more musically oriented, and there was
Yeah.
the nice thing about Rewire is that there was nothing to do in the DAW. You didn't have to set up your peripherals. You didn't have to have a timecode reader. You just put the plugin on, and it was sending timecode to the other side. So that was the nice thing about it. But the thing that didn't work out was that it was so music oriented that there was settings that post engineers would forget to make based on bars and beats and tempo that were often forgotten and then would create confusion. Yep. So there was other settings that needed to be made. Yeah, and timecode, exactly. This is great. I would agree, definitely.
I'm just going to backtrack to there's more questions I'm seeing, like a few questions that kind of previously that are all kind of touching on a similar theme here, and it's to do with the cache and the restore replace process. So it's hard to give a definitive answer saying you don't need to record backups. It really, if an engineer asks you to record something in a very specific way, then maybe you want to do that. But the reality is that Source Connect is caching all of the audio that you are sending over the connection. So you do have a backup of all of that, and you can forget about it or you can choose to manage it, but you don't really need to think about it as long as you've got ample amount of storage space. We're talking about audio files only, probably more often than not just mono. It's probably not going to be a big space hog on your computer in that sense. So this restore replace panel, I'm forgive me if I'm the stream I'm looking at is a little bit latent from
Here, I can show the
what
restore
I'm
replace
looking
panel.
at, but I think they're in the restore replace panel and showing there's a little disk item. When you end a connection, you're going to see this little disk icon pop up beside that connection, and you'll be able to download it. And if so, this call has been going on for an hour and 51 seconds, you're going to have an hour and 51-second file. It's all there, and it's the PCM
I'd
audio.
caveat
if I'm not
a little
mistaken,
bit of
so-
that for the moment.
Yeah.
This ability for the talent copy to cache the whole recording currently is hinged on two things. One, that you're connected to a studio copy, and two,
Yeah.
that the
Yes.
studio copy has engaged restore replace.
Yes.
We
Yes,
will
so
probably make that even
can
easier in
see
the
this
future. Yep.
It's very visible. So right here, I've got the blue line around the connection.
Yeah.
You want to
There-
look for that.
definitely even
If you don't have
more
that blue line,
plans
we're
to
not
enrich
backing
this
up. Exactly.
even further,
Yeah, for
like
sure.
would
And
make
you've
it
also
even
got these
simpler, like you're
icons.
saying. So
Yeah. And be able to turn it on and off.
sorry,
You know, a lot
confused
of
by looking
improvements
at
to
the
come.
minute ago stream here.
Ross, 1 second. Did I lose the cross patch there, or did Rebekah?
No, it was my fault. I
She muted.
switched,
Yeah, you can't
trying
mute
to-
Ross. Yeah,
trying to do
only.
something else.
Yeah, Rebekah, don't
Sorry,
don't
Ross.
mute yourself to Ross.
Yeah.
In
That's
Source
okay.
Connect.
I can hear. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that cache,
Yeah.
it's there. You've got it, and you were saying, oh yeah, place is on by default, if I'm not mistaken, for everyone that's connecting. So you know, as long as
Yes.
someone doesn't intentionally turn it off, it's unlikely going to come up that you're
Yeah.
not in the right connection. But it is important to note that that is a
Oh, I mean,
dynamic.
yeah.
but,
It would
like,
only come up if
yeah,
the
that, like,
if the
talent to
studio.
talent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if the
Look for
studio is
that
using
blue
a
line.
talent version for whatever reason, really they shouldn't. But if they are using a talent version, then there is
You
no.
only have this option.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Andrew, you're just asking what the icons are. So this is to tell you that it's a restore and a replace session. Actually, if we go back to Roberts, you've got more icons and that will
Yeah,
help,
I can
I
show that.
think.
Rebekah, unmute your feed over to Ross. He can't hear you in Source Connect.
What?
Um,
Actually, I am hearing her.
You are? Okay.
I'm listening to. Yep,
You
I
are?
can hear
Okay,
her
good.
presently.
So basically over here, I have sort of my restore replace dash panel. Let me see if I can do this. We might be able to
Yeah,
catch
do
it
a
in
replace
action.
on me.
A lot of it
You
is
can do a replace.
yeah, very well. Here, I'm just going to record something,
Okay.
and
Let me give you some.
yeah, if you want, make some
Oh, I can give you some
bad
packet
internet,
loss.
Here
Rebekah.
we go. 1 second.
Here, let me do it because I'm not streaming out and part of the stream, so we'll keep your video quality good. I am
Well,
turning
that
it
should
on.
be there.
Yeah, there you go. I can
There
see
you go,
that.
for
and
Ross
hear that
and me.
Bad audio. So I'm going to hit stop now. So Ross, you
That
can.
is
and
terrible audio.
there it goes. Let's see here. So we should see some action up here in a moment. As soon as those files, in fact, if I click here, we'll also see, Ross, you are this person. So we're going to see the file pop in here. We should. Come on. Did I change my routing? I don't think I did. There it goes. So now it says, hey, I found 2 files. I need to restore them. I'm working on them right now. So that's what this icon is here, that it's working on the files. And once it's finished, it's going to go into the bin of good. So we got 8 that are replaced, and 9. If there was an error, you would have seen it go over to this icon here, saying that we had an error, but we don't have any errors. So the next thing is, what's this second one here? If I click on this and I say replace now, we're going to see it. It's now in action doing the replacement, and now it's in action, and now we have 9 in the
It's too
successful
fast.
file. It is very fast, but this is basically showing you the sort of queue of files being loaded, analyzed, either restored or replaced, and then successful, or if there's an issue. And the issue would show up on the last one, which we don't have any issues on this current connection. So hopefully that shows people what the icons are. And then further over here in my connections, this is very important. This down arrow means I'm receiving restore and replace from both connected parties, as well
You
as
don't
the
have
blue.
that download on talent because it's just assumed that you're the.
Well, the talent would be upload.
Yeah, this might be
Yeah.
a good opportunity to just talk about. I think just to think about some of the personas involved in here. So there's these 3 tiers. There's talent, there's studio and facility, and I think the cleanest way to separate them is like if you consider yourself as a recordist. Some people are like voice actors, but they're also podcast producers, and this feature is appealing to them. If that's you're going to want to be on the studio tier so that you can be, we don't really have host roles, but you become kind of the de facto host, so that everyone that you're connected to, you've got this feature running underneath the hood of everything. And when you see that blue ring around your connections, you know that's a restore replace thing, and the directionality of the arrow will show what your kind of role is in a sense.
So
Makes
what
sense.
we've done restore replace.
So
we've
talent,
done
if you're
RTL.
strictly performing and you never recording,
You just need talent. Yeah. If you're always being recorded by somebody else and you're never recording anybody else, you
Yeah.
just need the talent copy. That's all you need. You are by definition. That's kind of why we went with these what we call role-based names instead of standard. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Well,
Makes
talent.
more sense.
It speaks a little bit
Yeah.
more towards what it's for. Studio,
Yeah.
and then facility gets into a
Mhm.
whole bunch of other stuff with its ability to stream 128 channels of beds and objects of really heavy-duty surround stuff, doing some more advanced ADR workflows. That's where the facility version comes into play. The studio copy can still do multi-channel up to 24, and it has the
Watch
full
this space.
remote transport sync feature, restore replace.
Quick question from Jessica, Virginia. Does the talent have to do anything special when recording to picture with a time code? Could we show that from the talent side? So we showed that just before, maybe 10, 15
Yeah.
minutes ago, how
So-
the talent would do that.
Well, kind of right now, the RTS feature in
the
talent
interface is a little different.
Yeah, it's
Let me
like
go
Rebecca.
back
If you want to
to-
show your copy, and I can kind of explain this because there's still one aspect of RTS that will make its way into 4 that is in 3 that's not currently in 4. So currently, the talent version, if you were in an ADR session, imagine you're a recording studio who does ADR, but you're always the talent side of the recording studio. That would all right, I shouldn't say that. Let's see. Well, anyways, just the feature, like maybe I can show it in 3. The feature in the RTS feature in Source Connect 3 had the ability for the studio copy to control the talent. The talent's basically RTS. So that is a feature that still needs to come into 4. It's not fully in there. Right now, the feature for the talent to do an ADR session would be, it would just not be there yet, to be honest. It'd be easier done on 3 than 4 at the moment. But once the overdub feature is brought over from 3 into 4, then basically what would happen is the studio would connect with you. You would receive really its control from the studio, and then your time code would go back to the studio and they would chase you. So typically the studio would give you some sort of picture. You would load that picture into a workstation like Pro Tools. We do have an application called Remote Timeline. So the studio might give you what's called the Remote Timeline, which takes the place of loading the picture into Pro Tools. So you'd load the picture up in either application, and then you would have RTS set to receive, and the studio would control your
We
playback.
officially sunsetted that.
Oh, did we sunset our Remote Timeline?
RTL,
Because we're working on
RIP.
something new.
Yeah. So things are moving from 3 to 4. So our RTL and the overdub feature will be carried over from 3 to 4. And in that context, they would control you. You would see the picture that they controlled playback for. You would perform, and then your time code would go back to the studio where they would chase you and therefore record you accurately against time. And that's the way that feature will work.
Yeah,
Some of the nuance that you're talking about, though, the stuff that's not quite fully into this version, I think that's just stuff that would make this improve even tighter. But it's not. It's functional as is, right? Like you would receive time code, you'd be chasing a cue from somebody else on the other side, and if you have the same media in the same position,
you wouldn't
and
be
you're record
chasing.
armed, then-
You'd be
then
controlled
you're
by
off
the
to
other
races.
side. Yeah, but that's the important difference. You're not chasing the other side. You're controlled by the other side.
Same.
Yeah.
Just while I'm here, we haven't talked about these cool mute buttons. They are not in Source
Yeah,
Connect
that's
3. But, oh, listening, not listening, listening, not listening. Oh, or maybe I want to mute myself.
Oh, you're not. You're
And
showing
now
your
I'm
screen,
back.
yeah.
So that's really cool. Mute buttons. Individual too, I can mute
Yep.
Ross. Or
And-
Yep.
just Robert.
Yep. And you have faders,
Or actually-
so you
And
can.
for the
you
engineers-
can-
Oh yeah. Ooh, yeah, coming in hot.
So you can control the,
I
the
don't
volume.
recommend using this if I'm the talent. We put it
Yeah.
in there as an emergencies, but please use your microphone and your hardware equipment.
Right. And if you're the engineer,
And all the
Don't use
cross-patching
those
when you're in
faders.
these group sessions. Yeah.
if you're the engineer, switching these, like, it's important to note for the restore replace feature. If you adjust these faders, you're going to kind of again mess up your ability to accurately restore and
Yeah.
replace. So you should leave all these up at full volume, and then you can adjust anything off of the record. So you don't want to, again, I'm receiving Ross and Rebekah through these aux channels here, but you don't want to, you need to leave that fader at 0 so that you're recording exactly what comes out of Source Connect. If you want to adjust the volume of the talent, you can adjust it on the record channel, because that's after the recording. You really, it's important that you record exactly what's coming out of Source Connect. Other questions?
Yeah, I think we covered everything that's
Yep.
here.
Everyone,
so
just,
anyone who's
just,
got
just to note,
licensing
everyone should have their
questions?
update options depending on what
Oh, yes.
license you have. So I think this is important to go over.
might note that.
If you're a subscriber, you're just getting Source Connect 4. You'll have both 3 and 4. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to update or change your account. It doesn't change the pricing for you. You have Source Connect 4. You just have to download it and install it and launch it, log in. If you have a previous license, what is called the buy-in license, your upgrade options will be found under your dashboard when you go to the downloads and products and downloads section, and then you click on upgrades. You'll see your upgrade options, and you'll hit a link and it'll take you to the store, and that's where those are found. But it's really important to note the subscribers don't have anything to change as far as their subscription goes. It's all included.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any last questions coming in? Let me check. Andrew. Hi, Andrew. Can Source Connect lock out the record level? I don't understand that, but Robert probably does.
Yeah, I think maybe what she means is on the over here. I would like to do that. We will bring that up,
Hang on.
but make this fader disappear because it can cause a.
Oh, yeah. We're going to turn it off in the next version when you're
Yeah.
using restore and replace. So, yeah.
Yep.
Can I keep an iLock if I want to use it?
You can definitely keep
That's
the
a question
iLock if
from
you are
Dean Montrell.
studio and facility. We don't have that yet, but you'll definitely be able to do that. If you are a
It's coming.
talent and you want to use iLock, let us know, because
Yeah.
there's definitely things involved in doing that, and we don't want to have to do that if it's not necessary. Our understanding is that every voiceover person in the world hated iLock, and so we did get rid of it by what we thought was audience's choice. But let us know.
Yeah. Sometimes we ask for something we don't really want. I don't know. I don't want the iLock. I'm glad it's gone. So, yeah. Especially
Yeah.
on an iPad, there is no iLock.
Yep.
So.
But we do love Pace, by the way. We
Right.
not
Oh,
to say-
absolutely.
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Pace, the makers
Pace
of
is
iLock. They
in
are a
our
great
software.
group. Yeah.
Yeah,
They're a
really
great group.
important part of our the audio industry. Yeah. Okay, well, I think we're. Still another question coming in from Andrew Feliciano. Will restore and replace work while using aux.io and ProTools? Oh yeah,
Yes.
doesn't matter.
But we like Nexus.
Theoretically, right? Unless
Yeah.
Oxide was somehow
Theoretically, but we're
damaging
not making
the
any
quality of the
guarantees.
audio
Yeah,
in between,
yeah.
but
Or you
it's
can
not
use the
supposed to.
Source Connect door plugin.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So, but absolutely, Andrew, your choice. If you want to send it, out of hardware, cable, and back in, you can also do that. So.
Not analog though. It'd have to be
No
a
analog, no.
AES. You could go AES out of your interface and AES into another interface, and as long as you're recording what comes out of Source Connect exactly, however that cable is established. It could be Dante, it could be aux.io, it could definitely be Nexus, it can be the Source Connect link plugin. Any other ones I'm not thinking of? SPDIF, AES. Yeah,
You can
those
record it to a DAT tape and then
could be
import it later.
AVDs. Yep.
One more question here about the iLock. It says, should I then disconnect the iLock completely or keep it around for 3.9 sessions? I would recommend
You need
keeping
it
it
for
around
3.9.
for
Keep
3.9
it.
sessions,
Yep.
and also just for if you've got it, yeah, and in some of Nexus
That's
stuff,
tiny.
if you're ever interested in exploring that, it'll be
And-
readily available.
and
iLock's
on
great.
on
we
another
just
level-
don't want it to be a barrier for people.
Also, on another level, to some degree, with the the original buy-in licenses, it is your original sort of ticket to the movie theater. So it's an important sort of receipt, so to speak. Might not be always physically necessary, but it is an asset.
And Rena Marias, I may be still finishing a question, or I'm not quite sure what the question was, that you were on a monthly subscription and you switched to yearly. So if you're asking about if you have access to Source Connect 4, absolutely. Please contact a support team if you don't see that. So anyone who's not seeing Source Connect 4 available, please let us know, because there's lots of edge cases still we're sorting out. So thank you.
All
I see what
subscribers
she's
should
getting
have
at. So
their
just-
accounts updated.
Yeah, if you're
with
on a
Source Connect 4.
subscription, you. I think there's just a misunderstanding of what the upgrade feature. So if you had a subscription that was monthly and you moved to yearly, you're good. There is no that's not an upgrade necessarily. That's just like a different cycle of it. So the upgrades that we've talked about are for people that are coming from non-subscription based versions of Source Connect 3 that maybe are moving over. So I think you're all good, Rena.
Yeah.
Rena Marie, you should be. You're in good situation. Yeah, exactly. Contact support. They can definitely look through it all better.
Okay. I'm sure there's still more questions, but it's late for me here in Europe. Definitely past my dinner time. Robert, you probably need lunch.
Yeah. But we don't want you to get
Sure,
cranky,
yeah.
so eat dinner.
No, exactly. Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Really great to have Source Connect out finally, So all of the webinars we've done up to now have been like, it's on the way, and now it's here, and we just work on adding more features for you. So
Yep.
Hey,
You
thanks
can
for
check
bringing
the
me
auto
in. I
update
didn't,
button, right,
plan on
Rebecca?
it, but it's a pleasure.
yes. Can you show that? That's another thing.
Sure.
Oh man, we did so much work.
Or is it global?
Under this there.
Let
See,
me
click automatically check for updates. It should be on.
think. I should have checked it
There you go.
myself.
It won't update unless you say it, but if you don't have that selected, which it is by default, you're not going to find out. And then it'll ask you, do you want to update? So, can we show one other thing, please? Can you go to the About box? This is very special.
Yes, I know what you're about to say. We shout out to the team.
Yeah, we should use this opportunity to thank everyone in the Ukraine who has worked with us on building Source Connect. We started before the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and we've been with the team through that. It's been, we don't have the words for how it's been, but we are so proud to be their co-workers, really special, amazing people who've built something
Resilient.
very special and amazing.
Yep.
So, yeah, thanks all everyone there. Okay,
All right.
it's a good place to end it.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone.